Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of our Globecast channel. So today we are really honored to have Ahmed with us to share with us some of his personal experiences as well as his journey in the crypto industry. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, and also leave a comment down below in the chat box. Just let us know what you want to hear more from the channel. All right, so welcome Ahmed. Nice to meet you. Would you like to give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Sure. Hey everyone, my name is Ahmed Al-Balaghi. I am one of the founders of Biconomy, which is a developer infrastructure platform in the crypto space. And I am based in the UK. And yeah, I'm ready to have this awesome chat with you.
Brilliant. So, would you mind sharing with us your how did you start your journey with the crypto industry?
Sure, absolutely. So it was quite funny. So I was in Shanghai in 2016. I believe it was the beginning of 2016. So I was studying Mandarin in Fudan University in China. And I remember very clearly sort of, thinking, okay, let me go to this random Bitcoin meetup I found online. And it was really interesting because I went to this meetup and I remember very clearly there was a presentation by the VeChain guys. They were called something else before they were rebranded to VeChain. And they were talking about sort of putting Louis Vuitton bags on the blockchain. And I thought, what is going on here? Didn't make any sense. And then this crazy American dude then came up and started talking about Bitcoin. And then none of that made sense as well. But given my background is in sort of economics and finance, there was a few interesting points that I took away, and it was really after that's when I sort of went down that sort of rabbit hole and thought, wow, this is really, really interesting. And then when I went to DevCon 2, which was in 2016 in Shanghai, that's when I said, yep, I'm staying full-time in this industry.
So it's fair to say that before attending university in China for your further education, you weren't really thinking about doing something that's so crypto related. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I mean, before I went to China, I've heard of Bitcoin, but I never really thought about sort of exploring it or looking into it.
So it's fairly recent. So you've not been getting to know the industry. So your first time hearing about it was actually about 5 years ago.
Yeah, so I probably heard about it in 2012, 2013, but it was only in 2016 I actually went into the space.
All right, brilliant. And you mentioned that you are the co-founder of Biconomy, and you also founded a Encrypted broadcast company, right? Podcast, which is the biggest in is a Middle Eastern and North American broadcast, among all the different companies within that area. And you also do so much related to blockchain and crypto assets. So how did you manage to start your entrepreneurship at this age, and what sort of inspired you to go on this route?
Yeah, absolutely. So after finishing off from China, I actually went up to the Middle East in Dubai. And it was really interesting seeing the different developments happening there, as well as the different sort of innovations coming from that region, especially since I wanted to explore it. And that's when I thought, particularly as you mentioned, the podcast, I think I probably started the podcast I think it was end of 2018 or so. So it's called Encrypted, yeah, and it's, as you mentioned, one of the biggest crypto-related podcasts in the Middle East and North Africa, and that's been sort of going on for nearly 3 years now. But it's only until, I guess, going down the entrepreneurship route was actually, not something it's something that I always wanted to do, but I never really planned it, because starting off Biconomy was, it was more like an experiment with, working with a friend of mine, and also another person I got to know in this industry who's now also a friend. And it was us three sort of working together. We actually started doing staking. We were sort of running nodes, and then it was only after that then we thought, hey, like it's great that we're working together, and we found a few problems that we wanted to solve in the space, and that's how Biconomy got started. And so it was more so I was very lucky to find the right team, sort of right founding partners, which sort of started that real entrepreneurship journey in terms of actually finding a company.
Wow, impressive. You were only stepping into the industry from like not long ago, but now you are like, the founder of the biggest podcast in Middle East and Northern Africa. That's so impressive, honestly. And it's fair to say that you are a global citizen. And then you attended uni in China and you studied
Yes.
Mandarin. So you can probably, do this interview in 3 different languages.
Yes, I can, but it will be broken in in Chinese. Yeah, but no, I think I could probably do this interview in Chinese, but it will be broken Chinese.
We will save that for next time. But yeah, so you've associated with so many culture backgrounds as well as maybe different markets. So what differences have you noticed within, 3 different countries and different markets? So China, UK, and maybe the U.A.E. If you're also, I don't know if you're familiar with the market there.
Yeah, so I mean, no, of course. I mean, I did live there for a couple of years before sort of moving back here. I mean, I definitely would say, I mean, there are lots of, differences, especially in just how businesses is conducted. I mean, U.A.E. and China are very sort of relationship driven, trust driven. China is a bit more, there is a way more hardworking sort of culture as well. Probably in China is probably the most innovative place I've been, in terms of like where, it's like sort of in a way living in the future. I did go to Japan for a bit, and I also saw very similar things over there in Japan. And so in the sense where you had all these like really amazing sort of, conveniences and technologies that existed. And yeah, I mean, and when we sort of look into the crypto side of things, it's very clear that, in terms of like the UK, they're more regulatory driven. In China, it's there's way more speculation. Although the government try and curb whatever's happening, it's just that there's a huge sentiment driven activity. And then in the U.A.E, there's more of a sort of a government sort of it's more sort of top down in terms of like seeing how they could make things easier from a government. I think there is a more push and emphasis to seeing how crypto could also come into the Middle East region as well. But yeah, that's why I would sort of say, like, after the few years of living in those different countries.
Would you say your personal experiences have like brought you more like insights or maybe a broader like perspective when it comes to, starting your own entrepreneurship and your business, as well as doing your research for uni?
Yeah, it's definitely brought me a broader perspective, because it's allowed me to interact with different types of people, human beings, and it's just allowed me to sort of immerse myself amongst different perspectives. And really, it's always, I'd say that there's a hint of diplomacy there, which brings its own benefits as well, and allowing just and it's allowed me to listen more, I'd say, right? Because there's and it's not just listening but also observe. So like I observed things from people doing things the right way. I observed people doing things in a very wrong way or in a very unlawful way. All these things help, and they definitely shape perspective, for sure.
Amazing. And you also do like associate with different discourses. You have your researches in multiple areas, like crypto blockchain, cryptocurrency, protocol layers, security, security and digital identity, etc. So is there like one topic that interests you the most? Or do you have a preference or favorite among all of these discourses?
Yeah, I think initially what led me down the route of looking into crypto was the element of just Bitcoin's crypto economics, in the sense where it was really interesting, what Satoshi Nakamoto really devised, right? In the sense where just basically making everyone honest is probably one of the hardest things to do at a social and consensus layer. And I think that's one of the main key innovations, which has now exploded and extrapolated to now we're seeing different blockchains seeing immense growth. And right now, a lot of my focus and attention is how we could bring how we could bring frictionless experiences into Web3, because right now to use Web3 or any dApp is very expensive. It's difficult for end users. And that's what sort of I'm focusing way more on at Biconomy, where we're just enabling frictionless experiences, and in particular to the cross-chain element as well, because now there are more and more blockchains coming about. We'll be seeing different use cases and different applications as well, going on different blockchains, and sort of looking at those hard problems and how we could solve them to make the lives easier for not just end users but developers is probably like one of the things that I sort of really enjoy looking at the moment as well, especially since that's what I'm working on.
Wow, that's so inspirational because you actually do see a future with it. And it's like you mentioned the word honest, because obviously, like most of the crypto businesses and also stakings are like, carried out online, remotely, virtually. So, how would you define the honesty within the crypto industry? How would you define honesty in the Bitcoin economy?
Yeah, how I thought about it was from looking at it. If you were to again just think about how miners have to interact, with the Bitcoin protocol or the Bitcoin network itself, is that no miner will ever be incentivized to be dishonest, because if they try and do this 51% attack, it would actually be irrational, right, and economically unfit for them to try and attack or reorg the Bitcoin blockchain, for example. Yeah, and of course, there's a different part of honesty in terms of like, how are crypto projects portraying themselves? How are people portraying themselves online, especially in this sort of pseudonymous or anonymous like DeFi related sphere that we're all living in now, or this new metaverse that that is now emerging. And I really believe that a lot of the integrity that people perceive from individual profiles or from particular projects will all be about transparency and how they conduct themselves from online proceedings. And I think hacks is they're always a great way of seeing how projects would basically conduct themselves and bounce back from an unfortunate event like that, right? And so there are different ways that of course people I'd say you can either measure honesty, but and of course relationships, right? Relationships are like an important part to that, and in crypto, Twitter kind of elevates all of these different things, but yeah, that's just what at least what I meant from honesty was honesty from a technical layer of the blockchain, right? Because then it sort of forces people or forces stakeholders not to be dishonest or not to harm the network.
Yeah, that's really important. And also, I think today technology is developing so rapidly, and also everything's just so like ever changing, as well as the crypto community, as you mentioned, loads of different new join-ins to the industry and new applications for Bitcoin. I remember Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, mentioned that they do encourage buyers, like people who purchase their products, to be using like Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies to do the exchange and payment. So, do you have any opinions on that, or do you reckon like crypto would definitely affect the way people live and do business and technology in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely echo what he said. I think we're in this because we believe crypto will change the world. So yeah, that's my answer. It will change the world. I mean, it's as simple as that. Yeah, I didn't think, um, you know, I would say that everything that's going on with DeFi and NFTs has come a bit quicker than I had expected. But that just that's just literally scratching the surface of what can actually happen in the next 5 years, right? And the impact and the change that we'll be seeing in our lives in the next couple of years. And I could see it even on just a personal level with lots of friends of mine who 5 years ago, when I told them about Bitcoin and I was buying Bitcoin, they're like, "Oh, you're stupid. Why are you buying Bitcoin?" But now they all hold at least some sort of crypto, and that will change as well. And I think just probably the main biggest use case is just the simple sending and receiving of funds in an international way. Like, it's just crazy how whenever I do an international payment, there's just so many things to, like, having to fill. Whereas on Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any digital asset, it's just a really easy send and receive, process. And I think once people have that first aha moment of using crypto, then they will lean to it more and more because it's easier and cheaper.
If you reckon those new, like, some new join-ins, some new members of the industry would be potentially your competitors when it comes to, business. And obviously crypto has been attracting a lot more people. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think the it's not a winner take all market, particularly in what we're building in the infrastructure space. And we could see that already in the sense where you have multiple providers of multiple solutions of multiple technologies, right? Solving a very sort of similar problem. And, all of these, different projects are still in business, and they're still probably as busy as ever. And I think that um, I think that depending on who the newcomers and new joiners are, it would depend on their appetite, where they see themselves in that transaction stack. Are they sort of a new company, or are they like a traditional, tech company that are now, giving services in crypto too? So all of these things do play a role. I mean, for example, like, this is different, of course, to what we do, but as an example, like Visa, who bought an NFT, the CryptoPunk, yesterday for $150,000, and then have hinted about doing NFT commerce. What does that mean for companies like OpenSea or Rarible, or others? You know, uh, because a lot of this, like, it really depends on again the segment in crypto, whether it's an application, if it's specific application, whether it's a marketplace, whether it's a infrastructure stack as well. All of these have very, like, just various implications. And for us, I would say, because we're mainly in the infrastructure and there's not much specific, I would say there's still, it would still be hard for anyone to come in and doing what we're doing, and even doing what our other competitors are doing, just because it takes time to learn everything, uh, whether it's on the cross-train side of things, whether it's on, bringing in new applications to actually use your APIs and SDKs. These things, like, take time and relationships, and it's a bit harder to replicate on that front. But anyways, that's a whole like different topic we could discuss.
So do you think your roles or responsibilities has been changing from a founder, as a founder, as a co-founder of business, as a researcher, investors, or traders point of view? Anything has been changing? Like the community has been, developing, and like new ideas, new concepts has been introduced into the whole
Gotcha,
industry.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, like there's been, I mean, especially when I compare, 5 years ago till now, I remember a tweet. So when I got into this space, I remember meeting um, Jake Brookman from, I think, Coin Fund. It was in 2016, and he's actually like they're now Coin Fund investors in Biconomy. But he actually put an interesting tweet. I think he's the one who tweeted it. But anyways, he said in 2016, 2017, the hot keywords were Bitcoin, ICO, blockchain, and there was something else. But right now, the in 2021, the cool words are NFT, DeFi, punk, meme, right? Like, so that just shows a sense into how things have changed dramatically, and just the new people that have been onboarded into this space. So like, from every angle, whether you're an investor, whether you're a trader, or myself as a founder, it's constantly there has to be constant reevaluation of the market, and that's probably in traditional, I'd say, tech or traditional markets, the reevaluation of just the market is a constant thing. But in crypto, it's just at a 10x speed, right? And so it's a really interesting period to be alive in, for sure.
Yeah, so everyone is like quite resilient. You have to, be sort of going with the flow and see what's happening next. Do you have your own some kind of prediction? What would be the hot words for next year or in 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we're still 100% in this sort of bull market,
Wow.
where we're going to be seeing, way more activity in sort of the NFT space. We're going to see way more activity in gaming, in the short term as well. What's going to be really interesting is seeing the development and the adoption of new chains such as Avalanche, Solana. So they're seeing recent spikes of usage. What I'm interested in sort of seeing is whether these will actually sustain to next year. Will they see growth levels like Polygon? Will they not? Those are like really interesting things to look at. And I really believe that I think next year will definitely mark where we will be in terms of just the adoption cycle, right? Because I'm a really big believer in infrastructure, and then application sort of follows each other in multiple levels of any form of adoption for any new technology. So what I mean by that is, you have like, what came first, the airport or the airplane, right? It was the airplane that came first, but it was never like only the Wright brothers knew how to fly it. So you needed the infrastructure, but that infrastructure was still early. Like the infrastructure that first supported the Wright brothers will never be used today. So the infrastructure always upgraded, which allowed for different planes. And those different planes gave rise to newer infrastructure and so on and so forth. And so what I think next year we'll be seeing is a bit more focus on infrastructure, given the rise of all these new applications that we're seeing, because it will inform the market. This is the new infrastructure we need to get to the next stage. And then, of course, in 5 years, I mean, hopefully in 5 years, we'll have what I like to call is literally the digital economies of the future. And so for, and this is where I see Biconomy fitting in, is enabling these digital economies of the future. And basically, seeing you're seeing all these digital economies which are basically composing with each other, that are interoperable with each other, and that just allows anyone to have really an exit from the traditional way of doing things. So I definitely see, excuse me, like more and more people within the developing and developed world having access to crypto, whether it's in from an investment side or from just a usage side, right? Um, and I think in 5 years that crypto will become a norm, and that things and hopefully Biconomy will be a big part of that, is that it will just be very easy to actually use these different solutions, these different applications, these different blockchains as well. And so for an end user to come in very easily and use these things, it will become a very simple process. So yeah, I'm very bullish in terms of like, because crypto is very, fast and fast moving. I think we're gonna get a lot done in the next 5 years. I think the main key question is regulation and where that would, how that would impact things during that time, because of course, like nobody wants to go to prison, right? So I certainly don't. And so it's about how can crypto sit at this really, because crypto and more largely Bitcoin and Ethereum now really open the doors for talking around philosophy, economics, government intervention as well. So it's like, it'll be interesting to see how that would fit within the realm of regulation. Because again, I remember again seeing this tweet, is that, how, law enforcement in the US want to regulate DeFi. But the issue is that I want to say it's impossible, but it's just it's a complete paradigm shift, right? So it's like, it's literally replacing one thing with another, right? And it's to that extent, that's what people are thinking about, like, how can the two really come together? And I'm still unsure about that.
We do hope that more people will be, into crypto, whether it's about Ethereum, Bitcoin, or any other digital assets. And it does seem to be the inevitable trend that more people, is now looking forward into hearing more about crypto and Bitcoin in general. So, like we mentioned, we're now in the bull market, but the bear market is right after, it might come along right after the bull market. So, would you reckon this could potentially affect the economy?
Oh no, I mean, we were built in the bear market. I actually, I'm a big fan of bear markets. Developers are cheaper and more available. It's great. um, but no, I don't think I actually I wouldn't say it would really affect us in a big way. I think it would aid us, to be honest. And but again, I'm not a big analyst on when the bull market will end and when the bear market will come in. I mean, it could be a multi-year bull market, it could be a multi-month bull market. Who knows, right? But at least for Biconomy, since we were built in the bear market and we were sort of resilient during that time, and sort of managed to come to the bull market with a product and with integrations, it has helped us get to where we are now. But again, there's still so much that needs to be done, particularly from the roadmap that we set for ourselves.
That's brilliant. So, is there any, obstacles you have managed to overcome or yet to overcome, in your career life? And would you mind sharing with us?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I definitely say there's a lot of things that, like in sort of a professional context, that I probably have lacked a couple of years ago, and now I'm seeing like a lot of improvement in. And that's definitely towards just towards being able to sort of manage teams effectively, understanding how people work and how they operate, and just understand. I think a lot of it is just really A lot of it is and this isn't talked about a lot, but it's about dealing with empathy and being empathetic towards the people you're working with and within the culture that and the different cultures that you might be interacting with as well. And all of this is important. And I'd also say another thing is speed. Again, like um, the need for speed in crypto is really important, and sort of balancing the 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 time you need to think about things and to effectively make decisions is also like something that um, I've I've had to sort of work on as well, and I'd say a lot of it has been on the job per se. Um, but yeah, but a big part of it is definitely like effective decision making is such a crucial element to everything that we're doing.
Yeah, there's still so much to look forward to. And we genuinely wish, Biconomy all the best, whether it's in the bull market or bear market. Is there anything else you wish to share, to some amateur traders or anyone who are willing to join the industry?
Yeah, well, I'm not a trader, um, but I think crypto is for all walks of life, and that we will definitely be seeing something for everyone in this space. And I just can't wait to see like what people will be building and what people will be doing in the years to come, because it's become such a phenomenal part and phenomenal industry to be a part of, really. Yeah, I would at least encourage everyone to just especially if they're new to read, as well as just start using these applications, because that's like a really big point of it.
Thank you so much for coming along with us. And it's been our absolute pleasure to hearing some insights from you, some personal journey as a really young, successful entrepreneur. So let's say goodbye to the audiences now. Bye for now.
Great, thanks a lot.
Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like the video, give us a subscribe, and also leave your comment down below for more content you wish to hear from us. Bye for now.